Sup, everyone? Matt, ESC United, your favorite Eurovision channel, and welcome to another episode of Mattitude, the ESC United live stream where we talk about, yes, you guessed it right, Eurovision. And keep in mind, as you saw probably just a minute ago, we've had some minor technical issues. But that is okay. If they happen again, we will be back. I've trying a few different new things, so hopefully it'll work out. So if we drop, don't go anywhere. We will be back within the next few minutes. But I want to welcome everyone. I don't want to waste too much time on introductions because it's a busy day. There's a lot going on, and I am bringing some real good expertise here with me. James, how you doing, my friend? How did you enjoy? I don't call it a Super Saturday just yet because we have busier weekends, but it was a pretty busy weekend, huh?
Yeah, most certainly. A lot of goings on, some happy, some very tragic. But yeah, definitely a lot of good stuff going on.
Yes, and there's so much to talk about. And as always, what we're going to do is we will talk about the shows, then in like the facts, then our thoughts, and then we would love to hear from you as well. Make sure in the chat at ESC United, that is the way to reach to us. So, and of course, everyone is here to talk about the three shows: Lithuania, Sweden, and Norway, and then we'll also discuss the news of the week. So, let's talk about, I know there's a lot of thinking going on, fresh news, fresh off the press. Lithuania's national final has come to a close, and by that means we have a winner. And the show was called Pandan. I practiced earlier with James. I told you so, but I always mess it up. Pabandom. Say it, James, for me.
Oh, good lord!
No, okay,
I called it Naranya.
Pabandom is now. I always crack under the pressure. 2021. Just scratch that part. So, basically, what it was, where we had two heats, one semifinal, and one final. And it was a very different, slightly different setup. In the past, they had like 500 shows. Now they whittle it down, as I said, to the heats, then the semifinals and the finals. The Roop, who won the show last year, were given an automatic ticket to the finals because Eurovision 2020 was canceled. Therefore, they were like, okay, the least we can do is give you a decent spot. So, early on, Discotheque by the Roop was a favorite to win. What was your first impression when you heard that song, James? Before even national final, all of that.
For me, this was they were the group I was most worried about. They were my second favorite from last year. Really enjoyed it. I feared that they couldn't make lightning strike twice. However, I'm one of the sizable group of people who think yes, they did. They actually did slightly better than last year in terms of the song. They didn't just repeat it. They added a few tweaks, but they also did some clever callbacks to last year's entry as well. So I thought it's a very well done entry.
Well, yeah, I thought it was, I just like everyone else, I was like, uh-oh, is this going to be that? Because I was all about bring them all back from last year, give them another shot. But of course, the bar was like gigantically high. And the Roop, in my view, definitely delivered with Discotheque. My favorite part about the song is feels so appropriate for the current environment we're in. You know, you have your discotheque at home. It's okay to dance alone. I'm paraphrasing right now what they're saying, dance alone. So I felt like, oh my God, this is the song that we're all probably, when the camera's off, just standing somewhere in the living room, bedroom, hallway, wherever, and dance to the song, because that's all we can do, because we cannot really go to clubs and bars. So that's how I felt. So like they really hit the nail on the head with the theme and everything. But they weren't just technically given a ticket to the finals, to Eurovision, I should say. They were given a ticket to the finals, but not to Eurovision, and therefore they had to still battle out in the finals. They were the clear favorite, James, right, to go into this based on the numbers. How sure were you that the Roop was going to win at the end?
Well, we've seen some strange jury decisions before. But I would think that the televote, regardless of they would carry them over the line. I wasn't too worried about about their chances. And yeah, maybe I might be causing an argument here, but I felt, and I have no idea if this is true, but the rest of the field were not as strong as the rest of the field that the Roop had to contend with last year. There was at least four solid competitors to them last year. This year, I could probably only think of one and a couple of potentials that needed a bit of a polish.
Yeah, I felt that as well, and I said it, I think, during last week's live stream as well, that I felt as either the artist didn't bother trying hard enough because it was like it's going to be the Roop that's going to win, or the people in charge just picked songs to make the Roop's job a little easier. But don't get me wrong, on its own merits, I love the Roop song. I'm just saying it feels like there was not as much competition as there could have been, because I know Lithuania has good artists, so that was not the concern. On the other hand, I was a little concerned because I never sit comfortable. I'm always like worried because, as you pointed out, the juries can sometimes mess it up. I knew that the Roop would win the televote by landslide, but you can. It doesn't matter if you win the televote by 1 vote or by 5 million votes. You only get 12 points. So if the juries, let's say, put the Roop in third place with 8 points, then they'll have 20 and all that stuff, or like even in fourth place, then 7 points, right? Or exactly how the points were. I think that's what it was. It could actually make a difference. So I thought there was a slight chance that things would not work out well. But that did not come to fruition because Lithuania is sending the Roop to Eurovision with the song Discotheque. And it is definitely already, it was before even the song was chosen. It was the number one in the betting odds. Yes, France caught up for like 2 hot seconds. But after that, they went right back with Discotheque. So I would assume now that they've been chosen, that they could actually be even extending their lead or shortening the odds even more. What do you think, James?
Well, we still have to wait for a couple of other hot favorites from last year, particularly Iceland. We'll have to see if Dadi can make lightning strike twice as well. If he can, it's going to be competitive. But if his song comes out as a dud, then yeah, I would still see the Roop being leading the odds by quite a distance.
Yes. The other favorite, or like favorite after the Roop, was Gebrasi with Where You Wanna Go, won the televote and the jury votes in the semifinals, and was said if there is a song that could beat the Roop, it would be Gebrasi. How did you feel about the song? Do you think it had any shot at all if there was a chance of the Roop not making it?
Yeah, that would have been my second favorite for that one, and I've heard a lot of other people say that one. That's probably definitely the second strongest. Had the Roop not been in there, I imagine they would have gone through. But yeah, had the Roop for whatever reason not been picked, it would be Gabrasi we're talking about.
See, yeah, I guess, I mean, based on the numbers, that was sure. The first time, 2 times I listened to Caprasi, I forgot the song. So when I did the last time, I'm like, I don't even remember it. Now at least I remember it after the third time. But I could never really see, like, I don't know why this is number 2. I was always like, okay. I actually, if I had to pick one, I felt more about Never Fall For You Again by Voldemars Petersons. Oh, yes, thank you for pointing that out, because I was going to say, it's such a repetitive chorus, but it's the only one where I actually remember the melody. And that it at least has a catchy melody, and that's the best I could give because there just was no competition. And so, yeah. Now, looking at, I think you said it earlier, On Fire and Discotheque. Which one?
Oh, for me, Discotheque, Slide Edge.
Slide Edge. So,
because I already placed it so high last year.
Okay. What is it that you like better? Is it just the melody, or it's just the feel of it, or what really put it over the edge for you?
It was it was definitely the melody, and definitely, as you mentioned, touching on the current times. This dancing by yourself probably would not have worked in any other year. If it was like came out in 2017, most people would be asking, "What the hell is this gangly giraffe of a man doing in yellow?"
Yes.
But yeah, it's just perfect for the time, and the synths were very well done this time. I think you called it a dark disco feel.
Yes.
Uh, I agree with that.
Yeah, it has a little more of a dark, but it's I like that way. And I know everyone expected, even the Roop probably were kind of. I mean, he was smiling, of course, and he was happy. But it seems not that he it was certainly not a surprised face. It was more of a relieved face. I think that he had when he was announced as the winner. I think I don't know how much you saw of the show because we had to watch Sweden and Norway as well, so you had to all switch back and forth. But the show to me was fine. There was a lot of talking and all of that stuff, but 2 hours is a good time for this 6 songs. It's just the results are so underwhelming when they just like, here's the screen, here are the results, da 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 da. Okay, and here's the televote, da 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 da. So the Root won. So I'm always like, I wish that would make it a little bit more entertaining. How did you feel from whatever you gathered from the show? How did you feel about it?
Yeah, yeah, but that's always been a thing with Lithuania. Have a 3.5 hour show, a few military brass bands thrown in, some skits, and then at the end, here's the scores, you animals, get lost. Yeah, I think a good send off to Rotterdam would have been in order. I know we're going to talk about this one later, but Sweden, at least they make a bit of a fanfare about the results, replay the song, say, hey, you're in the final, congrats. So they at least make something of a coronation of it for the winner.
That is true. And so the Roop is going to Eurovision at last after last year's little Sige. We all know what happened, which, we have more than half of the acts returning, potentially even more. There's still some open countries out there. Now, this is a tough question, and everyone in the chat now at ESC United, any comments or question in regards to Lithuania? That is the theme right now, and we'll answer those. But putting you on the spot, James, here, looking at the current, we have 5 songs so far. Where do you think Lithuania is landing for you right now? Is it your favorite already, or do you have like some other song that's beating it already in your personal top 5?
My personal top 5 is Discotheque is my number 1 on my top 5. I really liked Barbara Pravi's Voila. I know she's a very famous performer and songwriter. I mean, she won Junior Eurovision for France as a writer. But yeah, I was initially worried, oh God, this might be too niche for the French public. But thankfully, more people came round and she won. How she fares in the big event, I don't know. But that was another favorite of mine. And in score wise, close second to the Roop. Probably most people have her like more of a distant from the Roop.
To me, I agree with what you're saying for the most part. I haven't decided yet because they just have won, so I need a little bit more time. I haven't decided yet if I like France or Lithuania better. They're kind of like right here because they're great for very different reasons. And it's sometimes very, that's what I hate about Eurovision. Sometimes I'm like, it's unfair to compare these two things because they couldn't almost be further apart. So it may even depend on the mood of the day. But I see both of them high quality. I mean, I like Ukraine as well, but it's tough. Those are just really good songs. So you feel like it's shaping up to be a good year?
Yes, yeah. Speaking of Ukraine, that's a great song as well. What is it, Shum? I really do enjoy that one. I'm glad they went sort of more not away from their folk sound, but sort of introduced a bit more EDM elements. And then, yeah, also the thing I like, they did the white voice, but this time they did a twist where they sped up the choruses every so often. So I really enjoyed that one as well as the third. Eden, not so much. But.
Yeah, that's probably, yeah, no. We're kind of on the same page, which is very interesting. Let's see some questions here. Lasse Weird Dane is saying, how did the Roop make their performance even better from the first showcase? That blows my mind. I didn't see a whole lot of difference, changes. The only thing I could point out is that it feels like he was even on more adrenaline. There was a lot more, he was even way more into it because there was more at stake than the semifinal performance, because he was already pre-qualified. So I could feel the energy. Did you see a big difference? I'm sure there were some camera angles changed and all that stuff, but I didn't pick up on anything major.
No, I didn't. If there were any changes, they were subtle to me.
Yeah, so no, but either way it worked for me. I think it was mostly just the energy. Paul Nordahl is saying, oh, which, by the way, Paul Nordahl, one of our forum members, how you doing? If you want to join our forum, make sure at esunited.com forum, you can talk to me a lot there. I don't think Lithuania is a clear-cut favorite anymore. France is up there, and Ukraine has potential. Yes, and keep in mind, we only have 5 countries so far, so it's a little bit early to make that, but, that's all we can work with. But I do think Lithuania potentially, what I want Lithuania to do, James, and you can disagree with me, it kind of bothers me that Lithuania's best result today was a song like We Are the Winners from 2006, which is kind of funny, but making this your best effort at Eurovision ever is a little unsettling with me. Would you agree? This should be the best result ever for Lithuania.
Yes, I would hope so, because that what came in.
And we're back. I had to restart my software for some reason. It just decided to disconnect in the middle of nowhere. So we were talking about Lithuania, asking about if the Roop could hurt Eurovision's reputation because of acts like Netta or Conchita Wurst from 2014. And that was asking your thoughts for that, James. What were your thoughts? Can you repeat that?
Oh yeah, no, I don't. I don't think the Roop winning Eurovision would be a net negative on the concert at all. On Eurovision at all.
Yeah, and I don't think that, first of all, that people. I thought that Austria had the best song to me anyway from the get-go, so I was happy that Conchita won. But I don't even think that Netta hurts its reputation, because keep in mind, it got third place with the juries, first with the televoters. A lot of people like that kind of music. So every time a more upbeat or, humorous song wins, that it's somehow hurting the contest. If you look at the charts, often that kind of music does really well in the charts as well. Katy Perry has silly songs. Last Friday night is a silly song. Look at the video, So there are so many songs that we don't think about it as silly because they're in the popular Billboard charts. Therefore, they can't be considered silly. And that is my biggest issue with that. I would not overthink it, because it hasn't hurt really the chances either. If anything, Conchita has helped the contest, in my view. So
yeah,
go ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh yeah, no, novelty and quality are not necessarily are not exclusive. Not every novelty song is Daz Sampson's Teenage Life. So if it's a good quality novelty song, it does deserve to win.
Oh gosh, Daz Sampson, I'm sure we're going to talk about him in a little bit as well. So there you have it, the Roop going to Eurovision, and they'll perform the first half of the first semi-final, I believe. But with that song, could that be an opener? You think, James? Could this be the opening in the first half?
Yes, definitely. It is definite. Well, we still have a lot to know, but this would be a very good candidate to open for sure, because traditionally they tend to open with a banger. And this one definitely fits that bill.
Yep. So we're excited. Welcome back to Eurovision, the Roop. You deserve it. Definitely by far the best song. And 5 songs down, 36 to go. So it's not going to be boring. Speaking of not boring, did you watch Melodifestivalen in Sweden, semi-final 1? Well, I think we got a lot to talk about here. So in Melodifestivalen, this was the first semi-final. How it works, 7 songs compete, and then 2 songs will move on to the grand final, 2 to the second chance round, meaning they'll get another shot to make it to the finals after 2 rounds of voting. So there's been a lot of talk, speculation. We got clips of the performances and the songs before, but this is like the real first look we get at everything. And how did you enjoy, and without even looking at the results, how did you feel about this start of Melodifestivalen, James?
I liked it. The one big thing I learned is if we have to go to scenario D, we at least know how they're going to change up and do the staging from a remote setting, and what sort of stunts they can do that wouldn't be possible in a live audience. I'm talking particularly about Danny Saucedo's song, Dandy Dancer, with the illusion of a moving floor, when in real life it's just a bunch of people moving a few boxes around on wheels.
that is very, very interesting. It was kind of fun to see that part as well. The interesting part to me about this one, the stage looked so different for every single act. Just with the
Right.
props that they used, they went very much all the way out with the effects and staging for each and every song, so they all had a very unique feel to it. Kadiatos was like almost like you feel like you were in a, it was slower with all the lights, that she was in a smaller room, and then of course Danny's, as you said, with all the boxes was a very different feel. But it was just really interesting the way it was done, and I enjoyed the visuals very, very much. So as pointed out, we had two direct qualifiers and two second chance rounds. And the first direct qualifier announced was Danny Saucedo with the song Dandi Dansa. And in case you don't know who he is, well, then just travel back in time to 2012. That was the last time he took part. He finished in second place with Amazing, but it was probably not a good year to be in Eurovision because that was the year of Lorraine. So that was probably bad timing on his part, but you don't never know up front. But he finished in second place the year before. He also finished in second place within the club. Now he's coming back, or came back, with a song in Swedish, and put in the last in the running order, expected to make it through to the finals, and this is exactly what happened, right, James?
Yep.
What are your
Yeah,
thoughts
exactly.
on that song? Like, I don't think anyone was shocked when that one was announced first.
I wouldn't think so. To be honest, I was kind of fearing before listening to Danny Saucedo's songs, he was going to be like one of those guys you run into in 20 years at a gas station. And he said, "Remember me? I came in second to Loreen the year Sweden won Eurovision." But I'm glad he came back, and he came back with a song that was not bad. It was actually a decent effort. A few little tweaks I'd change. But yeah, with the rest of the crop in this semi-final, I am not surprised that came first. Oh, I'm sorry, got through the final. Yeah.
You know that it came at least in the top two, although it is expected, like assumed, as you said, that he came in first place. Um, I was reading a lot online, and of course, I have my own opinions. Those who watched my original reaction video to the clips, um, watch it later if you haven't. It didn't really work out according to my awesome plan. Danny actually was my least favorite based on the clips, and it just wasn't my song. I felt as if, and that's just me. Everyone watching who loved the song, you are allowed to love it, and those who voted for it, that is your decision. I'm just one person with one um, my taste. I just felt this song, if this would have been to someone like called Sven from Sistuna, Sweden, unknown, put it in second, this would have never gone anywhere. I think it's really the Danny factor certainly helped him. People who like the song, absolutely. I'm not saying that. But I personally, as an international viewer, had a hard time accessing it. I thought it was a little cliche. It's thing about, we're just dancing, and then I don't speak Swedish, but I heard it thing about the Macarena, and I'm like, oh my god. So the staging was fun. It was very entertaining to watch, but the song wasn't for me. I will say it wasn't for me, but it wasn't delivered to my taste. And do you think that Danny, though now through, we don't know the competition, always a disclaimer, you think he's in it to win it, or is he just a finalist?
They obviously put effort into his staging, so I'm assuming he's going into this thinking, yeah, I'm not going to try waste your time. Yeah, I agree with you. There are some elements that were derivative, particularly like Bruno Mars, and there's a touchback to Benjamin Ingrosso, and with the moving floors and all that, and Jamiroquai back in the '90s. But yeah, with the effort they put into the staging, I would say he is thinking he's going to put up a great effort and win. At least that's his thinking. I don't think he's here to waste anyone's time.
Yeah, he definitely mentioned before that he's mostly just here to promote his music, because winning with a Swedish song is virtually impossible in this day and age at Melodifestivalen. Maybe he can change that, but I personally don't see it happening. But I think he could do really well in the televote, but I don't think the juries will put him as high, or certainly not high enough in the finals to give him the win. One interesting thing, and people in chat pointed out as well, I noticed as well, did you see when he was announced, like, you won, or like, you're the first qualifier? He's like, Yay! He knew that he was through, huh? That was didn't come as a surprise to him.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So he is the first one through. We'll see him again in 4 or 5 weeks' time to perform, and he is not alone because there's another act that went through in Sweden, and it was a nail biter. At least a lot of people didn't see it coming. I was a little surprised myself, and it is Avignana. The band that took part a couple of years ago with I Do also made the finals. Now directly through, and James, what are your thoughts? This is the first time, and God knows how long I didn't look at every semi, that the only two songs in Swedish, I believe, actually were the direct qualifiers. That's quite
Right.
an interesting coincidence? Question mark.
Yeah. I've got a hint for the millennials and Gen Z Melody Festival and viewers out there who are right now complaining about Arvin Ghana. If you live in Sweden and you're young, there's this device. It's called a telephone. If you wanted your favorite to beat your parents' favorite, pick up the phone and tell SVT about it. Yeah, not to sound ageist, but yes, the 50 plus crowd clearly came out in force and voted for it. Not that I'm going to say they don't deserve it. They have a 30-year history as a very popular dance band in Sweden. So I'm definitely not going to ride the how dare these old bastards are in the final train.
Yeah. No, I'm actually in agreement with you. And one thing that, the environment that we're in, the online world, is heavily skewed towards a younger crowd, or at least a crowd with a certain musical preference in particular. And they certainly did not see Abignana going through, especially if they didn't make it with I Do a few years ago. But I'm not surprised because there is a big chunk, and it's kind of happened to a certain extent last year. Everyone thought the Dodgers going to win, the Mamas wouldn't get through, but the mama support didn't come from the people, the young folks. There is another age group that votes that is not online all the time. And that gave the mamas the push. I'm saying it's an old sounding song, but Daughter certainly was very much catered to the younger crowd, while the mamas had an appeal with the younger and some of the older folks. And I
Right.
think something similar could have happened here with Avignana. I honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I enjoyed the song tremendously. I had it on fairly low in my ranking. They're just so much fun live, and I thought the staging worked well, and they're just worked with the camera well. There was so much likability there, and keep in mind, this is a show. Even though they're looking for a Eurovision winner, it's catered to the Swedish audience, and that is what they did right here. They catered to the right taste, and that's why they're through. And to me, honestly, I'm not sad about it at all. It is a little bit more Swedish. I would love to have something a little bit more traditionally Swedish. And I'm not saying the other ones aren't, but I would love to see them go far because I'm all about diversity, and I thought they did a tremendous job. And hopefully they're probably not gonna do well with the juries in the final of Melody Festivalen, but I could see them go pretty high again, depending on the competition. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree, and I don't know if this is me being paranoid or whatnot, but I do think Eurovision has a slight ageism problem. I would like to see a couple more elder acts, like a Rain Alexander or someone
Yes.
like that, making it through. Because I remember a couple of years ago with Albania, like Janita Maliki, like a lot of the press talked about her like she was Elizabeth Taylor or something, rather than a current contemporary artist, just because she's 38 years old. So yeah, I'd like to see a bit more of older
Older.
acts
Over
coming
the
through
age
to
of
kind of
30.
round things out.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I'm the same way. I'd love to have that as well. And that's why Ryan Alexander would be a great addition. Ryan Alexander. And everyone's making fun of me the way I pronounce it. The band that also qualified tonight,
Argin Vara.
going through.
Oh wait.
So I would be thrilled about that as well. I'm still not convinced it's going to be enough in the finals because I just don't think the international jury's going with it. But I could see them being the top five in the televote for sure. So those two are through for sure, but there's still two other songs in the running. So that means they went to the second chance round. The first one that was announced was Paul Ray. Paul Ray last year also went for the second chance round with Talking in My Sleep, then qualified for the funds and did really well there actually. And this year round, once again, the missing piece. Once again, in the second chance round, what do you think, James? Can you do it? One more time.
Why on earth did he have to call his song the missing piece? It just makes me think when looking at this guy as a performer, it's like, oh yeah, there is something not quite 100% there. Like he's close to being a charismatic star, but there's just one little detail he needs to push him over the edge into the top tier. I know he's been trained and coached by Quincy Jones, but yeah, I'm not a big fan of this type of music that Paul Ray was doing. To be honest, I find it a bit of a snooze fest. But yeah, not surprised it ended up in the second chance because I know he is popular in Sweden. I actually expected him and Saucedo to be through to the final. So, but yeah, the missing piece is an appropriate song for
there was a piece
song title because yeah, it's missing something.
Yeah, I feel with it. I liked Talking in My Sleep better myself, but I will say the staging was very entertaining. I thought it was, with him walking around, starting with the microphone just hanging down there, and then him singing into it, and then he breaks into missing pieces, basically. So it was done maybe too literal, you can make a case, but I was entertained by it. The song itself never really grabbed me all the way. I thought it was melodically just okay. And in Talking My Sleep, at least he hit like really cool higher notes and made it sound like here. I just didn't get the risk. It felt a little safe to me, the song. So, Paul Ray is, he's a good singer and there's a lot of potential there. Would I personally put it in the top four? Probably not, but I can see why that is. And certainly he also, a certain age group / bracket, would like that kind of music as well. So I'm not surprised, although once again, if you watch my initial video, I am not what I kind of was hoping for, but I'm not in charge because if I was in charge, it would have been almost like the exact opposite of what happened tonight. So that was the third act that was going through. And then last but not least, the fourth act was actually... No, I'm curious to find if you were surprised or not, or if not, but it was Little Sister. They went through with a song that is quite unusual for Melodifestivalen, Pretender. It was pretty more like genuine rock, heavy metal sound. What were your thoughts when you saw this in making a second chance round?
Yeah, I was surprised by this one too. They sound like one of those bands that in the States they call butt rock because they're played on those radio stations like 96.7 FM Victorville, nothing but rock. It didn't sound like much of a Swedish act to me. It sounded like sort of a light version of Five Finger Death Punch, like a sort of very niche middle of the market rock song. And yeah, as a metalhead, I didn't care for it.
Okay, that is fair. On the other hand, I thought it was great. I was like, it's you can make a case it's all outdated because remember, 15 years ago, the kind of music was very popular as well. So I'm like, maybe it's more nostalgic for me, nostalgia here for me than I was kind of into it. But I just enjoyed it just for the fact it's just something that I did not expect to hear at Melodifestivalen. I'm just glad that they went with something that's a little bit more, hey, this is Christian Björkman's last year. Let's try a little bit more different music. And I don't think they thought it's going to go too far. They put it in the second slot, which is usually the song that's more like the filler. Let's move on. But it went into the top four. And I could see this one actually going through. Of course, we don't know which song it's going to battle, but it has a little bit more of a niche appeal. And I think that could work in its favor because the problem is with duels is you vote for or against the song, right? So we'll see if they're going to have more for or more anti-votes at that point. That is what it comes down to. But just the fact that it went for the second chance round is a win for me. I think that's gonna they just add more diversity to Melodifestivalen, which I usually my biggest criticism. So Yeah, I am thrilled that they are through, actually. So that's at least my opinion. And then we have three non-qualifiers, and we're going to talk about them now. And any questions now or statements about Melodifestivalen in the chat at ESC United, please, so we can answer. So that means we have three songs that did not qualify, James, which are in fifth place, Jessica Anderson, Horizon, in sixth place, Kadiatu, One Touch, and Natalie Brudov with Fingerprints in seventh place. Were you shocked that none of these even made it to the second chance round?
Jessica Anderson. Even though she represented Sweden back in 2003, came in fifth, still sounds and looks great. Um, she would. I wouldn't say she'd necessarily be a winner, but I expected her to have had a better result than this one today. The other two, Fingerprints on My Heart, yeah, didn't care for that one. And Kalia 2 is like one of those, has potential, needs more work.
Yeah. So I kind of agree with you. So for me, it was very interesting because my number one before the show was Jessica Anderson, and after the show, it was still Jessica Anderson. I love that song. I thought she sounded well, and yes, there's some cliches, like some things we've have seen all before, especially the staging with the dress and all of that. But she just sang her heart out, and I love the gospely touch to it that the chorus had. It was my clear favorite of the night. So when it got cut, I was devastated. I'm like, really? Out of all the songs, this one didn't make it. And Kariatu's song, One Touch, was great in the studio version. I really enjoyed it. It has like a club banger sound to it. And then it fell apart live. She had very little emotions put in. It's not an emotional song, but you have facial expressions or you have some kind of body language that she was not asserting, and she didn't sound great. It didn't look right. So I think out of all the songs, this was the biggest disappointment. And once all seven songs have performed, even though it was probably my number two before the show, I was like, this is probably not going to make it. Just because it just didn't come together. And that's what it comes down to. If you don't have the full package, then that's what's happening. And in terms of Nadia Bru, I was surprised that she finished in last, considering she was the second to last to perform. I was a little bit underwhelmed by the performance as well. It was a pretty ballad, but I don't think it was remarkable enough. And I think that is what really, really caused it. I don't think people hated the song. It was just like there were better songs that people wanted to vote for. It wasn't just a very votable song, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So that was at least my opinion. Some people are asking Sakrusta, are you surprised that all the non-qualifiers were all women, James? And just to add to it, there were three female singers. The three female singers are out. There were four male acts, including bands, two male bands and two male singers. They're still in the running. So there's a lot of talk out there that Swedish, who on average sends more male vocalists, last year was an exception, um, that this is odd, or is it just really how it came? Like just the music, how it
Oh
felt.
yeah, give me the landmine question. They'll probably get me in trouble.
Exactly. Well, we're
um,
honest here.
yeah. I would have. Let's see how the rest of the heats play out. This could just be a fluke. Let's see how Heat 2, Heat 3, and Heat 4 plays out. I know that Sweden have been trying to get more female writers and female singers to battle that perception that, oh, it's some pretty guy with good dance moves every single year. So I know they are actively making attempts by like doing songwriting camps with female artists and whatnot. But to answer your question, I don't think there's a voter conspiracy out there to say, let's vote for all the men to spite the PC overlords at SVT.
Yes. Now, I agree with you on that. Not to let you hanging on your own. I agree. I think it's too early to believe in a conspiracy. I think there are multiple factors. One is there are often more younger female voters voting. And who do they vote for usually? For the cute guys, for the guys. So that could potentially be a factor. I'm not denying that because you can make a case that some of the cute guys often go through or at least do better than you would think they would. At the same time, there are factors to consider like, hey, this may be just the music that they put forward just worked better. And going just by one semi is a little dangerous, could be a fluke. It could be a fluke because I can see, especially Kadiato and Natalie Brudolf, those two in particular, I was like, I have really, really bad feeling about those. And So that's kind of how it went, at least. It was Jessica Anderson. I still think this was the biggest surprise to me, but it is also a very niche taste, and I thought the other songs probably just it just clicked better. And some people, yeah, Dan, you can always make the case. It's just he is well known and popular, so you always get through easier. But we don't know. We have to wait and see. We have to wait and see. But yeah, I think some people said I believe that if diverse songs get qualified, but don't necessarily win Melody Festival, it would inspire other people to send more diverse songs. Do you think that this is true? If we have more diverse music, that'll encourage other folks who don't want to take part because they don't want to have the melody, because there's always like the specific Melody Festival and sound that people refer to. That it's a good idea, just kind of what Lila Sister kind of brought to the table, even if you didn't like it.
Yeah, I mean there are like I remember was it 12 years ago they had a really great all-female metal band called Crucified Barbara with Heaven or Hell. Um, I thought that was a great. I think they can solve this problem naturally and organic. But yeah, I is there a perception out there that the Melody Festival and sound is aimed more at guys? Like guys are much more likely to achieve that sound than women.
Yeah. And just one more point to Chalpon said Sweden doesn't usually traditionally send more men than women. Quite the opposite, actually, just the past 5 to 6 years where it kind of flipped, and that is a valid point. And but it also seems to be aligning with when they started changing to like online votes and app votes slowly, because I think that's often can make a big difference as well. And over the past couple of years, they added the age bracket as well. So if they put like, even though maybe you have like 5 million young votes in, they only can contribute so much. There's only a certain percentage because they do it by age brackets that they're equally represented, which I think is not a bad idea. So that could stop some of the girl vote, if you know what I mean, a little bit. So I think both James and I agree. Don't think about it too much about this whole, because the three female vocalists were at the bottom, that this is just what Sweden does, because it probably just a fluke. And looking at the music and just the circumstances, I can see where this totally, totally makes sense to me. But that was the first semifinal for Sweden, and we are actually having another one next week, and then the third one the following week, and then the fourth one the week after, and then a second chance round. So we got a month of Melody Festivalen to look forward to. We got the first two songs. Now we have to see what the competition is going to be like. But I do know a lot of people were slightly disappointed with the outcome. Not all of them. I'm sure in Sweden people are happy because that's who they voted for. So we don't have any control over that. So let's move on to the third show of the night, and then we're going to go for some other news. Is Norway Melody Grand Prix. This was semifinal 4. So we already have 3 songs that pre-qualified, not pre-qualified from the first 3 semis, and then we already have, I think, 6 direct qualifiers. So tonight, 4 more songs were battling it out, and just like every week, they were drawn into duels. And let me bring up the first duel here to see what our thoughts on that were. The first duel was Marianne Mikkel against Lenda Vians Helter. So that was an interesting combination, I think. What were your thoughts on the first duel, James?
Yeah, for the band name, I can never get their name right. The ones who the non-Sami group.
Yeah, the non-Sami, I
Yeah,
like
you're
that.
talking about Arvin Garner being niche. Those guys are definitely niche to a certain age group in Norway. I'm not surprised they lost out. I am. It is interesting. We have a second Yoiker in the competition this year, and I think their song pages utilizes yoiking much better than Fred Buljo's in Monument. Um, and the lady, why can't I remember names? The lady in the song, the lead singer, Ariane, yeah, she has a decent, she has a great voice, and the song's kind of but yeah, I'm not surprised that it beat out a rock band that very few, probably even in Norway, would appreciate.
where I put my personal favorites, and in the first three semis, my favorites were in the same duel. The first duel, I'm like, great. So this time around, that didn't happen. So here I had a clear favorite, Marianne and Mikkel with Pages, and I can only echo what you were just saying. I do like the joik in the song. That's the winner to me. The part, which was, I think, more effectively used than actually Monument does. And I'm not saying it's a better song. I just think the yoik itself really is the the special moment of the song that really makes it stand out. While in Monument you can say it's mostly about Alexandra and her singing, here it is mostly about the joik, and that I really really liked. Now I do had problems with their stage presence; they were a little wooden to me from my taste, but I it was my favorite of the night. Therefore, I was rooting for it. They seemed maybe a little nervous. She was a little shaky in the beginning with her voice, but it all worked out in the end. It was also a little static for me, the staging. I wish I would have moved around a little bit more, but hey, that was just me. And then in terms of the other band, Landevines Helter. So it is my understanding that these, a lot of them are like legends in Norway. So a lot of people like it, and it is certainly catered to the Norwegian crowd. Not to me. I didn't get it at all. There was virtually zero staging, a few random pyros, and it was very much, we're singing at some festival to a live audience, but, more like, I'm not goofing around, but certainly I didn't know how to interpret what they were doing. They had fun on stage. I think they knew that they weren't going to go through. And I get why. I thought that there might have been a slight chance because of their reputation and their history in Norway that they could get just the fan vote to beat Pages, but that didn't happen because, as pointed out, in this particular duel, Marianne and Mikkel with the song Pages won it out, and they went to the second gold duel. You think that was the right choice, James?
Yes,
A short and
definitely.
resounding yes. I would agree with that as well. And I would think the vast majority of international viewers would agree with that. But it was how it panned out. Now, then we moved on to the second duel. Let me bring that up here real quick. On that one, we had, here we go, Keem with My Lonely Voice against Royan Circus. Royan definitely had a lot of hype because it was, you can make a case, the most contemporary modern song in the running. Kim with My Lonely Voice, a big power ballad. So there was quite a contrast between these two songs. So what were you thinking, James, about that duel and how they did?
But personally, for me, I was not a big fan of My Lonely Voice. Um, Kim is probably the best singer of the bunch today. Um, the competition, was it Rione with Circus? Um, the lyrics to me were just bizarre. So I was kind of turned off by the weird mixed metaphors throughout. She positions herself as a circus ringmaster, but then she's talking about bling. And the last, and I looked this up at the Bureau of Labor Statistics website. Shocker: ringmasters for circuses are not paid that much. So there's that. So the whole song is just littered with really strange metaphors to me. So that was kind of a turn off. But just in terms of vocal talent alone, I think Kim deserved to win through because I know Kim's highly regarded in Norway, especially with the voice crowd, which Kim won, if I recall correctly. And but yeah, even though the song's not quite for me, I do see why it went through.
And what are the thoughts about the other song, Circus by Royan?
Oh, that's the one I was talking about with the weird mixed
Oh, that's
metaphors.
what you meant. I thought you meant Keem's song was a mixed metaphor. I was like, I don't remember any metaphors in that
Oh
one.
no, that was more Ray side. Sorry for transitioning.
Yeah, I was like,
Weirdly,
okay. I was going to follow up on that. Like, what metaphors are you referring to? I hear what you're saying. I actually agree with that part of it. And to me, I guess it's just the whole staging of Circus was not for me. At least I went out with Circus, so I'll give him, credit for that. But I always, with the whole, it's just, I don't like circus style. I just, it just rubs me the wrong way, but that is a personal preference. It was more to me about, she didn't really sing a whole lot. Yeah, she was singing, but it was more that yeah, talking. She looked like Miley Cyrus to me. I was like, you look like Miley Cyrus in that outfit, the face. But she performed fine. They did their best, and it was entertaining to watch. But I just don't think the song is just a very like averagey pop song, and I think That's why people didn't connect with it. I thought that it would qualify, actually. I think this could actually win this whole thing, but it was never to my liking. So I can definitely see the outcome here as well. In terms of Keem's song, who ultimately won this particular duel, I'm kind of in the same page with you. It's one of the songs I like better. It wasn't the strongest heat to begin with, in my view. But Keem he sang it so well, and I agree he was the best vocal performer of the night and consistent. And I think that is what carried him to the next round anyway, because the song itself is fine. It's good. It's a heavy ballad, but I cannot connect with it emotionally a whole lot, even though he sings it so well. But I have other portion issues with it. There's a lot of ooh ah, and I'm like, okay. At some point, when you sing a ballad, I need a little bit more than that. But it has a certain fragile moments to it, which are really pretty. It's just a little bit by the book to me. And so I was not quite as fascinated. But between those two, which one you would have picked, James? If you had the power, the sole power, who would have moved on?
Do I move with the polished singer who is a master of his craft, even at a very young age, or do I go with a rough, unpolished um, gem with a more fun song? It was kind of a yeah. There was aspects of Rayon that were positive, but with Keem as well. Another thing that kind of rubbed me a little wrong way is, coming out of COVID, which I hope we are in May. I want something sort of boisterous, upbeat, up tempo, aggressive, and somebody going, "Ooh, my lonely voice." It just makes me sad.
Okay, but you're saying you would have picked that one,
I
the
would have
winner
picked
between
that
those.
one because Rayon has potential, but she's a long way off from being a
Yeah.
finished product.
Because that means then, almost said Kaino, Keem is battling then out against the song Pages. So My Lonely Voice against Pages, and ultimately the winner of that duel was My Lonely Voice, Keem, moving on. In your view, James, the right decision, or would you have gone with Pages?
In my view, I would have gone with Pages because I'm a huge sucker for yoiking. Big fan of Korpiklani who do yoiking all the time with metal. So that and on that factor alone, I would have picked Pages.
And I'm with you. It was my favorite from the get go, and even though I still had some issues with the staging, they could have done more. And the joy was the shining moment, and it would have been a lot more interesting to me. So my choice would have also been Pages. I was a bit disappointed, but again, I don't live in Norway. I don't make the decisions. It's 100% televote, in case you're wondering. So it's Norwegians who wanted to see Kim in the finals, and that is what they got. So congratulations. Any questions about MGP Norway in the chat, please, at ESC United. We'll do our best to answer them. Um, Putting aside our own personal taste, which is always not that easy because we're humans, what do you think, knowing the competition so far, Keem's chances are in the finals? Could he go to the top three? Could he win it all? Or what's going to happen?
Well, one advantage he has, and unless my memory is deceiving me, there's not too many songs like this in the selection. So I think on there being a lack of, as you say, lonely, fragile songs, just by standing out by virtue of that, Keem could do very well. And yeah, and then of course the voice just it does hold your attention.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know if Keem has enough to win, but I would say I would agree. Yeah, somewhere in the top half.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think. I mean, there are ballads out there already. I think there's stronger ballads out there, but again, it'll be his voice that'll really carry it. So I could see this one. It comes down to if the some of the ballads will cancel each other out. So I don't know exactly where it's going to end up, but I don't. It could be the second half. I have a feeling it will be the second half because I think the reason why he came through here is because of there wasn't quite as much competition, in my view. In my view, Green Oscar ESC is asking James, who do you want to get the wild card? We still have one more semi, but out of the ones so far, if you could pick one of the non-qualifiers out of the first four semis, do you have already someone that stands out to you? Oh, I want that one through.
Um, Uh,
Let me go
oh, that's
first if you need
a
a second to think.
This is a
Uh,
tough one. No, I do have one, but how to explain it without seeming like a genre stand? Of course, I want Jorn to go through.
okay.
I do enjoy some of his other works. Power metal's a fun, boisterous subgenre. I'd like to see him try again and see, with a bit more polish to the act. I think he could pull it off.
Yeah, I'm absolutely on board with Jorn. It's the one that, out of all the songs that are currently not in the finals, is the one that I just love that kind of music. I think there seems to be a pattern. When like this hard rock, heavy metal is done well, like I feel like we don't have that enough at Eurovision, so I just maybe gravitate towards that kind of music. So I definitely would have picked him as well. Let's see. Sarah1207 asks, who do you think would win the final of MGP with all the songs released so far? So we don't have the semi-final five yet. We don't have the wild card yet. But James, if this was the full lineup, who would win Melody Grand Prix?
Um, it's a tough one because the stands seem to be divided into two camps, with two favorites thus far, with Rayleigh and the Wildwoods girl. What's her name? Emmy. It seems like there's a lot of vocal support for both of those, so I wouldn't be surprised if they either one of them wins.
Well, the hype is around Kaino and Monument in within the Eurovision community. This is the one that will win, and I think it is absolutely possible. Just some people are completely sure about it. I'm not as certain about it. I still think that people may overlook Tix, who is very popular in Norway and is the highest charting songs, I believe, out of all of them. So if I had to put money down, I just get this vibe that Tix could take it all. I am absolutely have him on my radar. I could see an Emmy upset as well. Upset not in a bad way, but Emmy could absolutely pull it off as well. I don't think Riley has the song. It's a staging mostly. Because people didn't even like it that much, and then they saw the stage and were like, we love it. And
Yeah, just because it references a 36-year-old movie.
yes, which I thought was awesome. I had like my ooh moment, which was cool. I loved it. But we need to remember that this is more than just that little moment there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so if my pick, my gut right now tells me Tix. Could be Kino, could be Emmy. So I feel this is where we're at. But one we don't know yet. Simon is asking, so this is absolute, um, just our gut feeling now. James, do you think that Ryan Alexander will be winner material?
Well, I always do. I love him to death. Everyone's my favorite commercial fisherman turned singer. So I might be a bit biased.
Oh yeah.
It depends obviously on the song, but yeah, if he's given a decent song, I feel he has a legitimate shot at it.
Yeah, I think too. And there, first of all, last year he made it to the finals, and if it wasn't for the system mishap where the votes weren't counted, I think he would have easily been made it to the second round of voting in the top four, and may have won. We don't know that, but may not. But he certainly would have been in the top four. So the fact that I could be overthinking it, but that's what we do here. The fact that they're putting him last in like they're not going to release the song until the last semi could be an indicator. I kind of did that with Ulrika last year as well. She was like the last one, I think, to release her song, I think.
Mhm.
Correct me if I'm
Yep.
wrong, folks in the chat. So I get a similar vibe here. So it could absolutely happen, and I would be thrilled because he's kind of awesome. So we're on the same page here. That so as said, there will be one more semi coming up soon. So stay tuned for that, and then we have a wild card show, and then the finals, and then we finally have a song for Rotterdam. So that is Norway. Before we have a few more updates, we just want to give you real quick and talk about. So just bear with us. Let's start. It's also sad news. So it's not necessarily what I want to start with now, but it just. I mean, it technically happened yesterday, but I want to let you know that shocking news coming from Hungary. AWS confirmed that their lead singer Urs Siglursi passed away at the age of just 29. Very, very sad news there. He was only 29 years old. He was very young, and it was, I mean, we fans didn't know. So it certainly was a unexpected announcement. The band that represented Hungary in 2018 with a song that I will not be able, Viszlát Nyár. He was diagnosed with leukemia apparently in June of 2020 and passed away from the disease just yesterday on February the 5th. There were super big favorites in at Eurovision 2018 with a lot of the Eurovision fans. They won a Dal with their song, and they reached the final of the contest in Lisbon, finishing overall in 21st place. And they had plenty of success afterwards. They performed at the Wacken Open Air, released another album, which was their 4th album already, back in October 2018, and it went all the way up to the 2nd place in the charts. And the song was also featured in that track as a bonus song. It was also the last time that actually Hungary went to the finals, because in 2019 they didn't qualify and they're not taking part this year. And I want to read a quote that I think kind of is sad, because it kind of hits down its head. Vivi Blocks wrote in 2018, "It carries an important message. We should pay more attention to our loved ones as long as they're alive, because life is short and we never know when any of them could pass." And that was the song was about, and makes it even more heartbreaking that someone at the age of 29 passes away. So our thoughts are with the family and friends of Urs and of course the band AWS in these very, very sad times. And 29, that's young, James, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. And as well, yeah, it kind of reminds me of the situation with Shawnee's friends, Iceland. He sang a similar, well, totally different style, but lyrics were very similar. It's like, live in the moment, cherish the ones you love. And then Shawnee himself died on the way to Eurovision. So, definitely on that. And he was also pretty young too. He was like, what, 33 or something?
I don't remember, but he was young too, yeah.
Yeah, definitely very tragic. And yeah, always will feel like when you listen to it now, you just feel very sad about it. But you just got to remember the lyrics, live in the moment. And yeah, AWS, as you mentioned, they, to me, over the past few years, had been one of the bands or acts who did it right in terms of following up their Eurovision appearance. They use Eurovision as a sort of way to step up. Like they mentioned the Wacken Open Air Festival. If anyone doesn't know, I mean, that's a huge deal. Performing in front of 100,000 people, and they didn't get like the opening slot either. It was like one of the middle slots during the day. Yeah, 4 albums. They work their asses off to get where they were, and yeah, it is tragic that leukemia took his life.
All meaningful, just thinking about it, because it kind of hits exactly what he was talking about, singing about his father passed away, and then this, you just always need to remember to keep your loved ones close, because you never know the last time. And I know it's sad. I always get super sad about it, but we just wanted to share the sad news with you. And yeah, once again, our condolences. It just sucks. It just sucks. But let's move on to some more cheerful news. And that is, we have some updates in Germany. Germany has not a song. Let me correct that. Germany has a name, or at least they give as a singer. Whether or not it's a no name, that's a different story. But apparently was following a very intense internal selection process. Germany's national broadcaster NDR, the Norddeutscher Rundfunk, they have decided the act for Rotterdam 2021, it's Jendrik Siekwat, and he will fly the German flag at the Eurovision Song Contest 2021. And finally some news, because there's been a lot of like, what's going on? Nobody knows what's going on. But now we do. So he's 26 years old. He is from Hamburg and impressed apparently a 100-strong Eurovision jury and independent panel of experts to be chosen as the German artist. What else do we got here? Okay, he's beating over 100 competing submissions as well. So it wasn't just like, there was no competition, there were no other songs. He's certainly impressed enough to do well. So what else? What he's known like he's a multi-talented singer-songwriter. He studied musical theater at Osnabrück University of Applied Sciences and, according to Eurovision.tv, that is, has been passionately writing his own songs for many, many years. So, the head of delegation for Germany, Alexandra Wolfsblas, describes Jendrik as totally authentic. He has fantastic charisma and incredible entertainment qualities. It was not surprising that he convinced the jurors. We are happy that he will be representing Germany. Now, we have to be a little bit more patient because we don't know the song yet, but we will soon on February the 25th at 5:50 Central European Time, PM, is when the song will be released. We don't know the song title or anything yet, but hopefully soon enough. So there also was a clip of him released on Eurovision.tv, so you get a little bit more of his personality. So what was your first initial reaction when this news came out, James?
The first thing I heard, my Gen X ears pricked up and growled. It's like, oh, he's a known entity on TikTok. Ah. But yeah, obviously we don't know anything about him. And as you say, once you read the details, 100-person panel, it doesn't sound like NDR's boardroom saying, "Hey, what do the kids like? What's on that TikTok they talk about?" But yeah, before making a final comment, I want to know more.
Yeah. I think I was actually quite intrigued when I watched it, and maybe it comes down to personality or personal preference, but he seems to be as a bubbly personality. He is very interesting in my view. He's first of all, he's funny. He made a lot of jokes in there, like his favorite spirit animal, whatever he said, is a seagull. I'm like, what? And he talks very fast. I was like, I speak German, and I was like, slow down, buddy, slow down. I don't understand all the words that are coming out of your mouth, but it kind of is endearing to me because he seems just very energetic, and he seems funny, and I don't know if his music will be funny. Not necessarily. I like the fact that he writes his own music. That's always a plus to me. It's not a requirement, but I do have a soft spot for someone because they often have a good connection with the song since it's coming from the heart. He writes all of the songs on the ukulele from what I'm hearing, so I don't know if you're going to get ukulele sound at Eurovision, which I wouldn't mind. I like the ukulele, but I'm just speculating. Do you have any idea, any thoughts, what you think he may put forward? He's an unknown entity for the most part, so it's difficult to make a guess. What do you think?
Right. Yeah, I mean, it is hard to judge. Does anyone out there remember Twins from Slovakia 10 years ago?
Yes.
Fun, bubbly girls, always make very sexy, raunchy videos. They come to Eurovision with a boring ballad that was written by a guy who is known for writing songs for the Real Housewives of Orange County. So we can't necessarily judge. We can hope that the humor that you say he has is bridged to Eurovision, but there's no guarantee because, as I say, they stuck the fun Twins with a terrible song.
Yeah. It's a good point that you're making. The good news is apparently he wrote his own song, that's my understanding. So
Okay.
there probably will be a little bit more of the connection unless they gave him another one. Which I hope not. But yeah, the Twins is a funny example. I'm still alive. Da, da. That was a very vanilla song, the way that comes. So I hear you on that. I don't expect that to happen here. We need a song just based on that short clip that we watched of him. I do think that they need to make sure that he can shine. And Germany, people are saying that maybe they figured it out now with the internal selection process that they're doing right now, that they're taking it very seriously, and so a lot of people are skeptical. But actually, James, I'm not sure if you agree, but I will draw a comparison. I'm not saying the song's going to be the same or it's going to be the same outcome, but I remember in 2019, they sent this very fairly unknown singer to Eurovision called Duncan Lawrence. And when he was announced, people were like, "Who that? Who that dude?" And then he wins it all. Could happen, huh?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, we can
go ahead.
probably
Sorry. No,
rattle
go
off
ahead.
quite a few more. Yeah. we could probably rattle off a few more examples
Yeah.
like that through the years.
And Amadeus is saying, considering Germany seemed to be very aspirational with their last entry, I'm expecting something competitive this year as well. What are your expectations? Because, Ben Dolik's song, and he actually congratulated the singer this year as well on Twitter earlier for being chosen. So no hard feelings there, which is good. He was, quite popular with the fans in the betting odds, did pretty well. Do you think that gives you more comfort that Germany has it figured out, or was it just like a one-off kind of like lucky moment for Germany? Because they tend to be more like, oh, we suck, we suck. Oh, we're great, and then we suck again. Do you think they have more of a consistent approach now?
Well, they've had. I think Dolik is probably what the only success really since Lena or.
Michael Schulte?
Oh wait, no. Oh yes, of course. Yeah, for a second I thought he was Austrian for a second.
No, no, no.
Don't flame me in
How
the
dare
comments. Yeah. But yeah, you are right. It's like a big peak and valley situation. The year before Dolik, it was the very not at all well received Sisters. So yeah, let's see if Ben Dolik can make a pattern out of producing quality.
Yeah.
I'm sorry if the new guy can continue Ben Dolik's success.
Yeah. And somebody said in the chat, and I agree with it. I mean, I would have preferred that Ben Dolik would come back because, he didn't have this shot. But it's just how when Germany didn't want to go down that route. And they just came, apparently, from what I'm hearing, to a mutual agreement. Of course, we don't know all the ins and outs there. But, yes, I would have preferred everyone to return. But, hey, at least we get some information from Germany. Do you think it's more important for them to figure out a good song and do an internal selection, or rather just get the people involved and have a full national final, even if it means a less than impressive outcome at Eurovision? Yeah, what do you think, James?
I would mostly aim on providing a song that suits the artist's strength. So if you say he's made his career out of very funny ukulele-based songs, give him something suited similar to that, not an exact copy. But yeah, definitely play to the strengths of the artist rather than forming a songwriting camp with a generic song and pairing him with it.
Yeah, I actually I'm usually usually being accused of being too critical of Germany all the time. Because but I can because I'm German. But I'm usually very pessimistic when it comes to Germany. I wasn't even that crazy about Violent Thing last year. It was good. It was a good song, but I wasn't my favorites. But I have strangely a really good feeling. I have a really good feeling about this one. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because I just drawn to Jendrik's personality and energy. But I feel as if they can bring that out in the song, that could translate really well on stage. You need to have charisma. You need to have stage presence. And from what I can see, he has that. And if the song just matches that energy, I can see Germany do really, really well. Now, ask me again in 3 weeks. Of course, I could completely be like, oh, they messed that up. But I am strangely optimistic. And then one more question Simon's asking, do you think that Germany will choose Ali Ryan in the future? She was so cool at the 19 national final. So Ali Ryan was the fan favorite basically in 2019, but then didn't win. What do you think about her? I assume you know her?
I've definitely heard of her. Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't she get in Twitter wars with other artists about Germany's chances at Eurovision? Like, didn't she get in flame wars with people
I believe that
about
was something, yeah.
Eurovision?
I remember exact the details, but yeah, she's definitely a very outspoken individual, so let's put it that way.
Right. So yeah, I definitely I can see why she was a fan favorite. But based on her shenanigans over the past couple of years, I don't see it happening until maybe she matures a bit.
Yeah, that's a very good point, that the broadcaster is a little bit soured on her after that. And I don't live in Germany, and I don't follow the German music scene closely. So I don't know if she has a name now or had more of a career. I don't know. I don't know where she's at that point. But that is the news we have for Germany. And then we also just some updates in Belarus, and that is a very interesting situation in there. Just to give it let's start over at the beginning before I just jump ahead here. But in August of 2020, you remember, there were thousands and thousands of people in Belarus taking onto the streets, came out to protest the results of the country's I almost said national final. See, I'm so stuck in Eurovision world. Not national final, the general election. And they called for a change in the country. I'm not going to go into all the political details, but they have been embroiled in tumultuous few months ever since it all was going down, and the broadcasters being criticized as well because they're being accused of being basically a mouthpiece of the government. And apparently the Belarusian Culture Solidarity Foundation, the Belarusian Culture Solidarity Foundation, has formally asked the EBU to strip the broadcaster of its rights. So remove the Belarusian broadcaster BTRC from the EBU. Which would mean that if they're not part of the EBU, they cannot take part in Eurovision unless they get a special invitation. So that is a very important factor. So protesters kind of echoed that kind of sentiment. And just to give you a quick details on what this is, this particular Solidarity Foundation was actually just established a few months ago, October 2020, by Sergei Butkin, the creator of an internet portal called tuzinfm.by. They're actually headquartered in Estonia, but basically, aim at providing support for the Belarusian cultural community. And this is what they said in the statement. Today, the broadcaster is not about media, but rather an instrument of political pressure and propaganda constantly incited in society. They fire their employees directly for their posts in the networks, break contracts for expressing their civic position, and those who still stay to work are kept under pressure and fear. He continues, I understand it. The EBU will pretend that Eurovision is out of politics, but if Eurovision is out of politics, then BTRC should definitely be excluded. And if the EBU respects its partners, I must react and sit down at the negotiating table. It must sit down at the negotiating table. And it may seem like far-fetched for some, but question is it? Because this wouldn't be, there is a precedent here. Actually, in 2021, the Ice Hockey World Championship was supposed to take place in Belarus, Minsk, as well as in Riga, Latvia. And they were supposed to co-host it, but the pressure and the organization said, nope, we're going to move it out of Belarus due to what's happening, and now they're going to be completely in Latvia. So they could use that as a, reason. Look, others did it, why can't we? The EBU did respond to, basically, and it was the Director General Noel Curran. He said that basically we defend professional journalistic values and to ensure citizens have access to information that enables them to hear a plurality of views and from their own independent judgments. I would like to stress that the Eurovision Song Contest is a music competition with no political agenda. We consistently and vigorously resist attempts for this cultural event to be instrumentalized for political ends. And then the gentleman, the Solidarity Foundation, responded to that, saying, if the EBU is independent from politics, then how can it include an organization that has repeatedly violated human rights and international law? So as you can see, there's a little bit of a back and forth between those organizations. Ultimately, what the EBU gave us is fairly just, a vague statement that they want to stay out of it, but they support, the freedom of press and all of that. But they will not take sides. They basically want to stay out of it without upsetting either side. Now, the whole situation has certainly affected Belarus in Eurovision, as only 50 songs were submitted, which is about half or less than what they usually receive, the broadcaster. And we don't have any information about the selection process yet or how they're going to do it. Maybe they go with an internal selection. But this is the status that we have right now in Belarus. Are you surprised, James, that the number is so low in terms of, submitted songs? Only like 50? They called it less than 100. But they called it about half 100, which is a weird way to phrase it anyway. Sounds like more than it is.
Yeah. Oh, no, you got to remember, though, Daz Sampson is one of the 50. They might as well dust off the trophy in Rotterdam right now and just give it to him, It's done for Belarus. They've won. But yeah, seriously, it's if you are pro-solidarity, if you are pro-solidarity group, you would take this as good news that artists in Belarus despite the struggles that Belarusian artists have to secure day-to-day work. You consider it a good sign that most of your artists locally are not taking part, sending in songs. They're and the only people sending in songs that are known are foreign mercenaries. And yeah, there was also precedent as well, because bear in mind these a lot of people at BTRC actually quit, which is or went on strike, which is why Junior Eurovision, their national finals, didn't go through for the very first time in their history. Basically, they had no judges to judge song.
That's weird.
Yeah. So yeah, what was the question again?
No,
Sorry,
you answered like I asked how surprised you were that the numbers of submissions were so low. Is it, or should it come as a surprise knowing the circumstances?
No, yeah, that's my point. Yeah, just considering the circumstances, it doesn't surprise me at all that that it's about a third of what they usually get. It's like what 150 they claim they usually get. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah. It's also a very difficult question. I don't think either of us necessarily have an answer because it is such a gray area. Is there ever a line where the EBU should say something or always say we're apolitical, therefore we can do anything? If it's, I don't want to use a real country, so Macedonia. I'm King Matt and I own the country Macedonia. I'm partner of the EBU. And I'm just going to go over to Ireland and take some of their land. So I'm starting basically war with Ireland. Could the EBU be like, we just sit back, it's none of our business? Macedonia invading all these random countries across Europe. Is there ever a line? I don't necessarily have an answer, so it's very, very difficult. And some people bring up Russia, some of the things that they're saying. So I personally don't have an answer to it, and I don't know if you, James, but in some ways, each broadcaster is. They're all run by the government in some way, often independently, but they're funded by the government. So it shouldn't come as a surprise that they're kind of a little bit the mouthpiece for them, right? Especially when it's a more of an authoritarian country.
Yeah. But yeah, it is hard where to draw the line. But as you mentioned in past, how the EBU have responded to your speculative one. They've certainly ignored, as you mentioned, Russia invading Georgia, Russia invading Ukraine. There's certainly been lots of breaches of that line, and they've sort of just no.
Yeah, no, I'm exactly with you. It's a very, very tough topic to really like. I wish I'd be the expert on all of that what's going on, and I don't necessarily envy the EBU being in that like I'm kind of the in-between guy. I want to support the people, but we cannot get involved. And where is the line that really like very vague and subjective approach? Because you can say, well, then if you do it for Belarus, do you have to do it for other countries as well? If they do this, if they do that. So the EBU just kind of looks at it basically, we don't care what's going out in the world. We just want to put together a contest about music. Unless you don't pay your fines, then you're out. But other than that, as long as you pay your money and you want to take part, that's all we need to know. And in the overall scheme, I agree with that sentiment. I understand there are always layers to everything. So do you think, James, again, this will be, regardless of who they're sending, who they're picking, this will be a big boo fest if there's an audience? They probably should hope for no audience now, huh? Belarus?
Yeah. I'm sure Zena's out there thinking, "Oh, thank God I didn't go. I didn't go in 2021." I think we can expect a boo fest like Polina Gargiranova, the Million Voices lady. I would not be surprised if Belarus gets booed. Though looking at some of the names that have come out of the pre-selection, I doubt they will even make it to the final, based on the track record of some of these artists that are currently up for Belarus.
What are you talking about? I thought Des Samson's going to win it all.
Oh yeah, Teenage Girls Part 2.
Yeah, we're making a fun. It's a light make fun, not of he as an artist, but it's not the first time that he's trying to represent Belarus, which is a random country to go through as a British citizen kind of thing. But hey, he's not going to come back for the UK. So I guess, as an artist, it's a great exposure. So yeah, so we don't know exactly how Belarus is going to choose their entry. Choose their entry. So more to come on that. Let's This is your opportunity to ask your questions or comments. Anything could be about Belarus, could be about anything Eurovision. If you missed the first part of the live stream at ESC United, make sure that we can see it. um so Marita Loras is asking opinion about Atle in MGP tonight's automatic qualifier. Oh, we didn't address that one actually. The automatic qualifier. I have to look up the name in Norway's Melodi Grand
Atle
Prix
Pettersen.
performed. Do you remember the song? And what are your thoughts?
That was my problem with it. I can't remember. It
That's not a good song.
uh, Yeah, afterwards I thought, oh yeah, you didn't mention the pre-qualifier, and then I remembered why. Yeah, to me it's kind of forgettable. It's fun, it's nice, but yeah, I have trouble remembering it 5 seconds after it's gone.
Yeah, his name was Atle Peterson, and the name of the song was "World on Fire," and that is the same thing. It's like the song. It's a very standard pop song. It was fine. I still understand quite why this was chosen over some of the other songs in the semis, which I find stronger. That's why I have this issue with this whole we, the jury, select in an ominous way who deserves a final spot. Like either have all of them go through it or none. It's just, I don't like this whole, we pick and choose some, you pick the rest. And this is what it comes down to. I don't necessarily think that this was a strong enough pop song to really make a difference. It was probably vanilla, as you said, because I remember it that he was performing the stage. I only remember like his microphone stand has like that thing where you just kind of push it. And I'm like, oh come on, that's a really silly gimmick, like has a little spring at the bottom so he could move around. That's the thing I remember, but I have a hard time remembering the melody only because it just doesn't have a proper hook. So yeah. Um, have you had a chance to listen to the snippets of Dora 21? If yes, what do you think about it? I have not. I will listen to them afterwards, and I'm going to put up the video. Did you listen to them, James?
Yes, yes, I have. If I was a betting man, I'd say this amongst the fan community is going to be Battle Nina versus Albina. Those two seem like the most geared towards the Euro fan base, and I can see a lot of people going towards and pushing those two camps. Albina kind of being the more sexy, raunchy entry, a la Hurricane from Serbia, and then Nina being the sort of quality, at least from what I heard in the clip. Yeah, don't quote me on it on the top two being Nina versus Albina because yeah, my track record in predicting national finals is horrible.
It's already, I think today has proven that it is unpredictable. Most people, I mean, some people said Sweden's outcome. There are always some people right, but for the most part, there were a few surprises here for sure. So it'll always happen, and I've come to terms with that a long time. That most of my favorites in national finals don't win, and that is fine with me. I always have the music, as I say, just because it didn't win the national final, they're not going to be erased from history. The music will
Right.
continue to exist. So yes, it would be fantastic to have all my favorites at Eurovision, but the music I'll have forever, so I'll be okay with it. As said, I have not listened to them. I will listen to them tonight. The snippets. I'm still upset that my favorite Damir Ketso is not returning, but he said he was said to represent Croatia last year, but he said he just didn't feel like he had the right song for this year. Therefore, he decided to not submit one. But he could be back next year. And I think it's not a bad idea just to force yourself into Eurovision if you don't have the right song. So, and I completely understand that. Let's see if any other questions are in there. Marita Loras is saying, if Atle does well in the finale, it is because he is Atle. He is very beloved in Norway. Did you know that he was a big name?
I had no idea. Living in Los Angeles and being British, don't exactly have my finger on the point. On
Well,
the
yeah, me
pulse of,
too. But you have so much knowledge about the international acts anyway, so you would be my go-to person. But I just looked him up. He was the lead singer of a band called the Sheen. So apparently He took part in the 2003 edition of Melodi Grand Prix, actually. Oh, at age
Hmm.
14. How can you be that young? The song was performed.
Oh, they're probably talking about MGP Junior.
Oh, you're right. Sorry, MGP Junior. My bad. The song was performed with Stina, so then he in X Factor he was as well. He released several singles. I'm just going through the article here right now. So I guess he is a little bit more well known, but yeah. But there are other well known people apparently in the national final. Tix, kind of. So I think if it's only go by name, it'll be tough to compete, I think. So it seems as the people that were chosen, a lot of them, not all of them, were already big names. So they want to give some of the bigger names, kind of didn't want to go through the semifinal and potentially face an early elimination. It's probably the same for him and Tix, who all are big names. They also have some newer names in there as well, but for the most part, it seems that's maybe a pattern. I could be wrong. Olivia MacArthur is saying, what do you think of the Ukrainian song and how the chorus is lifted directly from an older folk song? Um, do you know the context about the older folk song situation?
Yes, I've heard about this, and this wouldn't be the first time that Ukraine has done this. They gave a pass to Ukraine in what was it, 2006? It referenced the Orange Revolution, but it also included snippets of an old Mexican protest song.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I mean, as long as I believe they ruled that as long as it's not copyrighted, and they haven't commercially played it before. I'll have to double check the rule book on that one. I believe they'll be free and clear of that.
Yeah, there is some motion that they may have to change the lyrics, but a decision has not been made yet. So we have to wait and see on that. To me, as long as they use Ukrainian words, probably wouldn't make a difference to me anyway. Because, I don't speak the language. They could just use random words. Pen, pencil, ruler, book, whatever. You like the song, though? We said it earlier.
Yeah, I personally enjoy it. I think it's a slight improvement on last year because they were another one I was worried about. Yeah, I was worried, but I like some of the creative twists they did this year, like with the speeding up of the white voice vocals as they go along.
Yeah. They will have to cut it down, of course, because the song was like 4 minutes long, so there's a minute to
Yep.
cut. But there are a lot of, instrumental parts out there that they can cut down on, because I can see that there were some empty moments in the song. I pointed out that in my reaction video, so make sure to check out my reaction video if you haven't seen it yet. So that was my biggest concern, but once I cut it down to 3 minutes, I think it'll be great. Um, are you afraid that Shum will have a problem, get cut off shorter, or it would be okay? I kind of said there's so many parts where there's just sounds that they can cut out. I can totally see how this would work in a 3-minute version. Would you agree?
Yes, it's pretty much after the bridge where they bring the guitar in, and there's that guy standing on the bucket with the flute, and they're all sort of dancing around for a while. I can see there is a lot of, as you say, empty space in that song, and I wouldn't be too worried about the end result being too brutalized if their producers know what they're doing, which I'm sure they do.
Yeah. Amadeus is saying, I didn't that one Freak song, which didn't go in the end, from the UK sample, a classical music piece for the entire chorus? Oh, they're talking about Freaks from the 2019 national final. It did not, people think of Canon in D, because it has like a similar, progression there, but it's just like Adam Levine's song that in Maroon 5 that was released a year or two ago after that. That itself is not a copyright issue, or I think it's just some notes will not. That's going to be very hard to make a case that this is a use from a different song. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, at least every year we get three or four
Yeah.
copyright claims, and most of the time they don't hold water. In fact, the Neto one surprised me that the Israeli broadcaster and the producers caved quickly on that one. I forget who did the original song, someone really famous. But yeah, as you say, similar sounds does not equal rip-off.
Exactly.
Because there's only so many combinations and permutations of notes, chords, and etc. that can make up a song.
Exactly. There are only so many notes in music that you can use. There will be no song that you put out. If you put songs in and you run it through a computer, the computer will find something that is, oh, look, that sounds similar. So that'll always be the case. So I would not put too much stock into that either. So so next week we have more shows to talk about. We're gonna have Sweden. We're going to have Norway. And who else is next week? Do you know?
Doesn't Portugal start next week?
Portugal starts as well. Man, it's can't believe this is all happening. So we got plenty of more shows to come. I hope you will join us. We'll have another live stream. Thank you so much for joining me today, James. It was a blast. Oh, Croatia. People saying Croatia. Croatia. Oh, I gotta listen to that tonight. So thanks for watching, and we'll be back soon. And have a good day.